Are we good? All right.
Hey.
Hello, everybody.
Yay.
Hello. Welcome. This is it.
Hi.
So,
Hey, guys.
weeks in the planning, the Fallout 4. Wow, people are really excited. The Fallout 4 cast and crew reunion. For those who don't know what this is, the title kind of suggests it. It's just a panel that we want to do to reunite all of the major voices behind major characters in Fallout 4, reminisce on simpler times and share some tales. We want to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in, helping something special really come together here. I also wanted to shout out Courtney Taylor, specifically. You, my friend, oh my God. I mean, you pulled us all together here. You did a lot of the work for this.
I missed
also,
you guys.
Yeah, right.
Ones that I haven't met yet, and I really loved when we all got together around the launch date.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, and it just seemed like a really good idea since this year has sucked.
Also, I think compared to getting hundreds of thousands of nerds to vote, getting the 8 of us into a room was probably pretty easy.
Definitely, after that, I was like, we're good. I'm just going to
Right. So let's see here. Now this is being streamed live on my channel, but it'll also be archived, so you can revisit this whenever you would like. So don't worry if you're limited on time or whatever. You're good. I wanted to do a little bit of a who's who, just so everyone is familiar with who's on this panel. And so just to make sure we can get right into the questions and whatnot, we're joined by Stephen Russell, who is the voice of Codsworth, as well as Nick Valentine. Katy Townsend, who voiced Cait, one of the more surprising characters, in my opinion, in the game. We have Courtenay Taylor, who was the female player voice for Fallout 4. Matthew Mercer's joining us, voice of MacCready. We also have Danny Shorago, who did Hancock. Peter Jessop, who was Paladin Dance. Kal-El Bogdanove's also with us. He directed all these crazy cats, put them all online.
I just want to say, Fallout is a massive game. There were several other directors. I was the lead voice director, handling many of the companions and both the player characters. But I also want to shout out to Phil Bach, Chris Fiala, Bennett Smith. Who am I forgetting? Brenda Phillips. Now,
wow.
maybe a different last name now, but all of them made significant contributions, and I do not want to hog their credit. They're great.
Perfect. Jon Gentry, sorry.
Gentry.
Perfect. Gentry, who did Preston Garvey, one of the more popular roles in the game, to say the least. Wes Johnson's joining us. Originally, you were going to be a temp, but now you're here for good, Wes. So Thank you for joining us. You did Silver Shroud amongst many other voices throughout the game.
Mo Cronin, water.
Hey.
He's got a prop. I've never seen someone more ready for a panel. Courtney Ford's with us. Courtney Ford did Piper, one of the first companions we saw when the game was actually revealed. Ryan Alosio joins us. He is Deacon, as well as I always forget the name, XN22?
H222.
Thank you.
The sad and sensitive H222.
Yes. The one who I will admit I took out in my playthroughs. Just did not give him a chance.
My mom did the same thing.
And last but certainly not least, Keythe Farley is joining us. He voiced Kellogg, the wife killer, the son stealer himself. Welcome.
I like to use spouse killer.
That's true.
Politically correct.
Both ways, yeah.
Yeah, he's an assassin, but he's not a monster.
That's right.
Yeah, look, you had your reasons. Am I right?
And he killed my husband. I'm just saying.
So, for those who want to connect a little bit further before we get into questions, just know after this, a variety of you will be doing a thing over on Streamily where you'll be signing headshots and connecting with fans more. So there will be a link in the description down below. If you want to go ahead and click on that, it'll take you to a general page where everyone is, and then you can connect individually from there on whoever you want to visit and get some signatures and get some questions answered, some extra questions answered. So it's a whole big Fallout event going on today. And once again, we thank you all for giving us some of your time here. We're at almost 1,000 people live, which is awesome. So we thank you for lending us your time. Now, before we get into obviously a lot of the Fallout stuff, I just got to ask, and we talked about this very lightly while we were preparing for this. how many of you had actually like met each other before? Like we call this a reunion, but at the same time, some of you are meeting for the first time. Is that correct?
Yeah.
We all went on a sailing trip just over 5 years ago together, and
Yay!
We recorded most
like
of
a
it at
cruise.
sea.
Yeah.
It was
I tell the fans that we all have a lake house
things got out of hand.
Well, the Lord of the Flies kind of thing.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Did you see the scars?
What happens on the cruise stays on the cruise, Katie.
exactly.
Yeah, I was playing pickleball with Ron Perlman the other day. It's great.
Wow.
He says hi.
The nature
You didn't answer my
of
calls.
the nature of game VO for a game of this size, because there are certainly games where most of the storytelling is done in cutscenes. Cutscenes are like any cinematic work in where they often do have actors together in a mocap volume, and but the Fallout 4 is, and all Bethesda games to a certain extent are so massive, and the player is in control all the time. Even in the midst of a conversation, you can just decide to shoot somebody in the face or run away, right? So
As one is wanted.
as often one is wont to do. And because of that, just the sheer volume of material, it's with this many wonderful, talented actors, it would be nearly impossible to actually get people together to do most of their scene work. And as a result, a lot of these guys have to do what they do, which is generate an incredible grounded performance that really feels like they're conversing with another person in isolation in a booth, really looking only out at me or one of the other directors and at the devs. And so the fact that they, by and large, have not met each other in the professional context of Fallout 4, it should be to you guys an indicator of just the caliber of talent here, because
100%. Yeah.
you wouldn't know when you listen to the performances that they weren't in the room together the way actors are on set or in the mocap volume. So
Are you going to say you wouldn't be able to tell from the performances that they were talented? I was like,
So with that, we'll hop into a little bit of the Fallout goodness here. Just general speaking here. What is Fallout to all of you, right? And what I mean by that is, for some of you, maybe you were hopping in new. For some of you, it may have just been more work. For some of you, you've been fans for a while even. Whoever would like to really get started with answering that question and kind of leap into it. I see a lot of Fallout merch here, Fallout backgrounds. Matt's chilling out in the wasteland. Yeah, Peter's prepared with a Vault Boy shirt. We got Danny with one. So, I mean, whoever would like to go ahead and take this question by the horns and kind of carry it from there. What is Fallout to you?
I'll start.
All right.
And I've played all the Fallout games. I'm a pretty addicted gamer, but the most exciting part to me was when I first got into the booth. We started doing the dialogue, and they don't tell you what the project is, what it's going to be. And I said, I see a group of ferals up there. I was like, oh, this is Fallout. This is so great. So that was very exciting to me.
I had the exact same experience as Peter. Same thing, like grew up playing them all, including Brotherhood of Steel. Yeah. All of them are me winners. But yeah, same thing. We didn't know we were going. And as soon as you get a few lines dialogue, and those of us who had played the previous games, it clicked. And it was just kind of like all of a sudden, all the anxiety that built up of realizing what it was and trying to not let it affect your performance until the first break came. It was like walking into the break room. Is this Fallout? Is Fallout? Like,
See, I thought I was recording a game called Angelina.
Right, that was the
That's right. That was
right.
the code.
yeah, it was like space sci-fi and all the audition
that's what
sides for it.
was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The funny thing
Really?
about the secrecy, which at that time in the history of the games industry was more intense than it is now. They've loosened up somewhat about letting the people who are actually in the cast know more about what they're doing. But the funny thing about that whole secrecy issue is that we recorded an enormous amount of this game in a studio that had a Fallout 3 flag above the door.
Yeah.
So when people would come out of the booth and be like, "Is this Fallout?" I'd go like, "I have no idea.
And it only took me like 3 weeks to notice.
I actually didn't know it was Fallout for months and months. And when I finally figured out it was Fallout, I still didn't really know what it was. Like it literally took the game like coming out for me to be like, oh shit, this is like a this is the thing, you know. And
well, then it must have really caught you off guard because the game was so popular, right? Like it stormed out there, and so many people were playing it. You were probably like, oh my god, this is actually not just Fallout; it's a huge deal.
I was amazed. And when I found out it was Fallout, now if I was on a project and I found out what it was, I would start researching it right away. But I sort of went, oh, cool. And for some insane reason, didn't really look much into it. And then when it came out, it was just like, my head exploded, you know. It was just absolutely unbelievable. Amazing. It's insane, you know. I mean, it is its own universe, truly. Like, it's unbelievable.
I knew a little ahead of time that it was going to be Fallout before it came. I knew, you know, from some of the folks I knew at Bethesda that it was in the pipeline and it was coming down, but I was psyched for it because I'd played 1 and I'd played 2, and I didn't know how it was going to translate because you had this, top-down turn-based game, which I thought was fantastic. But the thing that they all had in common, however, was a kind of an immersive.
Helping something show really.
It's like an immersiveness. You really feel like when I would play the games, you play them for so many hours that you go ahead and you go to sleep and you dream in that world.
Yeah.
So for me, stepping into the booth is very similar to that. I'm just dreaming in the booth and I'm imagining everything around me, and having played the games and knowing what I was doing was so much more fun. The big geek inside of me was tremendously happy.
So that's interesting because I know Matt said that it was like the anxiety of finding out, like, oh shit, this is Fallout. While you were like, let's go, it's Fallout. So yeah, does it differ for all of you on how like finding out a role you have in a game that or a series maybe you care about or know is popular? Does that kind of sway how you approach your performance one way or another, or do you just try to ground yourself and just go for it like usual?
I kind of like to not know. I sort of am in that world of just like, I would rather just focus on the work and be the character, because I will, like Matt, I would go bonkers, and the tension level would just start to rise. Like, oh my god, I'm in this thing,
right?
That is so massive. But I think it's just being able to focus on the work and just being able to, which is great for me because I mean, I went in, signed the NDA, and it was like, okay, what are we working on? And they were like, it's a big game. That's all they would say. And I was like, yeah, but I just did the NDA. They can't know. And the level of secrecy that they were keeping for good reason. I think I wouldn't begrudge them keeping it secret from anybody. But I was having lunch with a friend of mine, and he was like, are you in this Angelina game? And I was like, yeah, why? Why? And he was like, you know, it's Fallout 4, right? And I was like, oh, that's cool. All right, Fallout 4, great, bring it on. All I know is I got a gig next week. But it was just, I mean, and they were the most fun. It was the most fun to play this guy. The other thing that I sort of took away from this experience was having strangers and friends of my children come up to me and say, oh my God, I totally killed you last night.
Yeah, it must have been awkward. You're like the one guy at the core of all the bad things happening right now. And this new game's coming out. Everyone's celebrating your demise.
I didn't know it was him. And I was I remember doing that like a lot of the little stuff where I'm like, you know, I'm going to come back from hell and kill you again. And then later on, I found out that it was Keythe, who is a dear longtime friend of mine. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I didn't know, because I feel like I wouldn't have been able to muster the same like venom, because I would have been like, but it's Keythe and I love Keythe. And
little
guilt.
You know, he's little guilt. He's so talented. So to let you guys know, like Keythe is that talented. I'm pretty sure he's never actually killed anybody.
No, he's doing the as if, like it's just.
Yeah.
I gotta go.
When I realized that even though I knew what Fallout was, when the E3 announcement, when we did the thing at when they had it at the Dolby Theater, I realized the magnitude of it because I walked out and I saw the line on Hollywood and Highland going around the block. And I remember like walking back into Kal-El and being like, we're going to need to start at the beginning. I need to do everything over again. I didn't realize that this was a big deal. And now I'm super nervous about everything. And he's like, don't go there. But it's a really big deal. And now I understand how much of a big deal it is. And he was like, too late. It's almost in the bag.
I didn't know. I wasn't from the gaming world or the voiceover world really, and I came in, and it wasn't until after the game had come out that I called a pizza place to order a pizza, and I was like, "Hey, I would like this or that, blah blah blah," and the girl was like, "Piper." And I didn't even know that. She was, oh my God, you're my companion, and I played you last night, and you're ordering a pizza. And I was like, oh, I think this is going to be a big deal.
Oh, they wouldn't spit in your pizza like they would have, in Kate's. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I don't call out for pizza anymore.
Yeah, all you guys, that must happen to you all the time.
I literally don't think that has ever happened to me.
No, it's never happened to me.
That must have been like a super fan then to just pick you up over a pizza call like that.
That's never happened to me before. That was way intense. And then we went to pick it up, and I was with my son, and he did not think it was cool. He was kind of upset because she was calling me Piper, and he was just like, I don't like this. This is my mom, and you don't, you're a stranger. You need to back up. He did not like that at all.
That's
it was traumatic for my kids too, and people would come to school and be like, "I killed your dad last night."
Yeah.
See, these are the casualties in the voice acting careers that we don't know anything about. I'm glad you are here taking the time to share this. So it seems like a lot of you are obviously very familiar with the game. So I got to ask, John Riley wrote in, we took a bunch of questions from fans across YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. And John Riley had asked, assuming you had played the game, what was it like to talk to your character in game? I'm sure this is a question a lot of you've gotten in the past throughout various interviews you've done, but is that ever like weird at all? I remember I talked to Brian Delaney, the male voice, and he said that he was doing a lock picking exercise in Fallout 4 and he got it and he went, oh, nice. And then his character in game went, oh, nice, like that. And he had that like, whoa, hold on, this is a little too meta for me. So what is it like hearing your character in game, whether it's cool or of course, like, is it like the character maybe you avoid? You're like, I hear my voice enough. I don't know.
No. And I used to actually enjoy freaking out my kids. I got 3 boys and they all played it. And I would wait until they were running with Paladin Dance and I'd walk up behind him and Paladin Dance would say, outstanding. And I'd repeat whatever the line was, or I'd say it just before he said it. And I'm like, Dad, stop it.
Kids have no sense of humor in that regard.
Yeah.
It's diabolical. Anyone else have a moment where you're like talking with your character and you're like,
I have heard my kids killing me down the hall, killing my characters, and I think to myself, well, it could be worse. I mean, the Melendezes would have been alive today if they had been in video games and their kids had an outlet. So that's
I love that this game has brought so many like mommy and daddy issues to the table.
Yeah. It is kind of designed around that narratively.
I never played with Kate. I mean, I don't think I could do it. I think I would find it excruciating.
What's the thing? I don't watch my own stuff. I record and I toss it out there. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to hear myself a second time. So that's why I was asking.
I don't know so much the voice, but to watch, like the first thing I ever did on the game was mocap on the giant soundstage. And so to watch her like move, but not exactly look like me, but move like me, that it's a very eerie feeling. I can't take it.
But I did a live stream with the Lava Boys, Ray Chase and Robbie Damon, and they did a Fallout playthrough where Ray took the time to create a player character that looked exactly like Kellogg for me to play and come and kill Kellogg.
Are you serious?
So the level of meta that was going on there, I thought was just genius.
Yeah, my friend Justin's a big Fallout fan, and he saved it for me so that I could meet Hancock, because you don't meet him right in the beginning. And it's almost like you depersonalize it once it leaves your voice. It's someone else. But I took the opportunity to immediately start shooting him, and I think I killed him, which is you'd think it would be liberating in some way, but no, I just sort of shrugged. Watch the poor guy.
Liberation. I see that we're really unearthing a lot of things here today. It seems like this is turning into a session where we're gonna start counseling a little bit.
We're gonna need a therapist in here very soon.
Now, with Fallout 4 being as big of a game as it is, I got to ask, and this question comes from Never That Kid. He wrote it on Twitter. How did, if at all, your experience with Fallout 4 help you in future roles? Whether it helped you carry one thing into another, or you felt a little more experience? Like, was there anything that Fallout 4 maybe provided you that was valuable for your career? Maybe even future opportunities, even.
So much for me, because this was like my first time really voice acting at all, and so for me this was a bit like a crash course. It was a bit of a it's like it's kind of a funny thing to jump into because it's such a big game, but like I learned a lot working on this, just technically, even just as like my first kind of big gig in voiceover, like to the point where if I hear clips from the character, I can tell what was recorded at the beginning, at the beginning of the first couple of sessions, and what was recorded like a year later, like the different start for me. Yeah, because I just kind of improved and sort of got used to the character. And so this was totally invaluable for me. I don't even know if I would have pursued voice acting if it wasn't for this job, because I don't really think I didn't really have the intention of becoming a voice actor. So that wasn't really
Wait, so how did you, if you don't mind me asking, how did you stumble into this role then? Did it just,
it really just happened. I before this, I'd worked on a game called Ingress, which is like an augmented reality game from the guys who made Pokemon Go. And that was just a very different game, I mean, it was just, there was a lot of in-person stuff, and it was just a very different kind of platform. But yeah, I just never could have imagined. And so Fallout really did open the door for me to sort of move into, to have the confidence to move forward into other work, but just sort of to learn the craft really on the job. So yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Absolutely. One of the things that I think is kind of cool about working for Bethesda broadly, and something that I think they've done kind of throughout the history of the games that they've made, is that in addition to industry mainstays, like Matt, Courtney, Peter, those folks, they will cast a wide net, and be comfortable giving actors and directors who have not had like a ton of experience in game VO an opportunity to explore that space. And they make really interesting discoveries, casting discoveries that way. And I think folks often kind of become mainstays in the game VO end of the performance arts after having worked on a Bethesda game, because they are comfortable entertaining, people who don't have like 6 million Twitter followers to start with, right? And that I think is something that could and should be more broadly adopted throughout the industry, because you make some really, really neat discoveries that way.
Well said, Kal-El. I wanted to just comment too, circling back to the question of that really one of the big takeaways for me about working on Fallout 4 was working with Kal-El, and he's an incredible director, and I particularly appreciated your use of gestural direction, if we can use that term, where if you felt that I wasn't getting a particular everything out of a line that I wanted to, or that we wanted to, you would say it's like you're reaching out and patting him on the shoulder.
Yeah.
And I've taken that away from those sessions and really tried to incorporate that thinking into a lot of work that I've done since then too.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Every time it's not only something it's given me, this was the first time I had done a player voice. So it was the first time I got to be on a game from like soup to nuts. And so so much of it coming in is, you know, like if you're just coming in, you're doing a slice of the cake, right? And you're kind of getting dumped in there, and you might get different directors and every time. But with Cal, I got to work with him every single time. And I was coaching somebody on a video game audition, and I was literally going like, give me some more like guts in your teeth, you know, like, you know, just throw your arm around him a little bit. And not only am I passing on, not only do I have the tools now for my own auditions, but I also can help other people with that. And he's so specifically good that I was in a video game session for another video game, and somebody that he trained was directing me. And I said in the break, I was like, did you work with Kal-El? And she was like, oh yeah, you know. And I was like, the goodness, the ripples of the Kal-El pebble have changed this industry. I can't, it really is, for somebody who isn't like a theater actor that comes from like, you know, just for the distilled ability to say something like that and get somebody physically just right where they need to be, as opposed, because we don't have time. We don't get our scripts in advance for the most part. We don't have a ton of time to craft this from like, you know, what's my backstory? And a lot of the times it's just like, hey man, this is what you're reading today, go. And you're like, but I haven't even had a chance to leave it though. We're doing the line now. Okay. And so his shorthand is really has changed the way people direct. And I you know, I can't sing his praises enough, because it made me a better actor. It has made other people better directors. And I just,
yeah.
Okay.
If I could just quickly jump on the Kal-El love bandwagon. I had a similar experience. I came into this game. I had no idea what I was, you know, working on either. It was Angelina. And I really didn't figure it out until about halfway through our sessions, which was like maybe half a year in or whatnot. And the few games I'd worked on previously, the directors I worked with, it was just such a different animal than when I got in there with Kal-El. It felt so personable, and the specificity on the direction, I owe so much of the performance to that, because of what Kal-El would bring out in me, with references he would make or just small insights. Because I wasn't getting the material until on the day, like a lot of you, I imagine, and not really being familiar with exactly how it was going to fit into context. Building the character and bringing Deacon to life, through that process, without his involvement, I think a lot of the lines and character development would have been much more disconnected. So the fact that there was a cohesiveness to him overall, I totally owe to Kal-El. And also it kind of sucks because other people I've worked with since him, I've wanted that so much from them. And when they don't bring it, I have to remember, okay, it's just a different animal. So I kind of remember that stuff and bring it, you know, sort of my like a little Kal-El thing that sits there, and kind of bring it to myself. But yeah, man, got to give you that love as well. It's very true. Well said, Courtney.
Is it gonna make me cry?
You gotta hold back your tears, Cal.
I wanna
cry.
I wanna
I have a Cal
turn that. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
you helped me go on to kind of interact and digest scenes that were primarily CGI, like in TV shows. After I went to Supernatural, and then I did 3 seasons of Legends of Tomorrow, and for the finale of season 4, there was a giant dragon. That obviously we do not have a dragon, but they're like, there's a giant dragon and it's flying in the sky. And I remembered you helping me really picture the world and picture the wasteland. The first thing that you and I did was I was outside on the wall with, you know, trying to have Danny Sullivan let me in. And you're like, oh, you're outside a wall. And I was like, okay, here's the wall. And you're like, no. You said, picture it's like a mountain. And so you helped me create the landscape in my mind when there was nothing. It was just a dark soundstage. and working with you really prepared me to feel comfortable, you know, moving forward and watching like, oh, well, there's a dragon, or oh, this is magic, or oh, this person turned into an elf. Yes, it's totally normal, and not skip a beat. So thank you for that, sir.
Well, thank you. First of all, that day was my first day on Fallout 4. By the way,
My first day was your first day?
Our first day was the same day.
Oh my God.
I want to really kind of turn this back around on you guys a little bit, in the sense that, you know, acting is fundamentally make-believe, right? It's like playing outside when you're a kid, but with adult like goals, right? And you know, when actors are doing that on stage, when they're doing it on set, they're still using their imaginations. But when you have a set and you have other actors and you have their eye line and their micro expressions and stuff, you know, you're using your imagination as like it's a support, right? It's a railing, but it's not like all of it, right? Because you can at least look over and see there's a guy, he's holding a gun, he's pointing it at me, or whatever it is. But that fundamental skill of make-believe that's sort of underneath acting, you know, grounding acting on camera and on set and like that, becomes the entirety of the exercise in what you guys do. It requires, there are folks who work very, very well on set or on stage in person, who have a really, really hard time crossing the barrier into working in VO, even though it is still the same skill. I maintain that the principles are the same. The heavy lifting that the brain has to do in terms of imagination, particularly for a game like Fallout, where I'm like, okay, this is a robot, but it's an insane robot with a 30s accent, right? And you're like, oh, okay, got it. Yeah, no problem. Sure. Yeah. It's Dorothy Parker as a brain in a jar. Got it. You know, that I'm always, every day in my job, I'm amazed by the work that you guys do, by how plastic and how willing you are to just like kind of go somewhere super weird. You know, Courtney, Jon, you guys were really early days before I even got to work with Courtenay Taylor and Brian, you know, player characters. You guys, we tested stuff with the companions first. Jon, you know, I was like, you're up on a balcony and there's a giant monster and it's sort of a lizard, but it's sort of a demon, but it's sort of a dude. And you're shooting it with a laser cannon. And Jon was just like, yeah, got it. No problem. I can visualize it. I'm ready to make believe. And he was running around with no actual gun, right? You know, and that is so much more difficult than a person who has never been in a recording studio in the booth can possibly imagine. To be inside a soundless cube. I mean, unless I have the talkback open, you guys don't hear anything. It's like being on the moon. It's difficult, I think, for people who haven't done it to appreciate like what a feat that is, because when it's done well, it just sounds so effortless and real and you don't even notice the technique. So I got to be a much better director working with you guys, observing how you work. You know, that Stephen, the put your hand on his shoulder, that thing, which I use constantly now, you know, I really started leaning on that. I mean, I'd done that, a little of that kind of cue in the past, but I really started leaning on that physicality stuff because of Brian Delaney. You know, I was working with Brian in the early days, and Brian's a very physical actor, right? For a voice actor who, you know, you got to stay on mic, right? It's like his head is riveted to the microphone and his body swings around like a balloon string underneath it. He's so animated. And, you know, we were having a little trouble connecting on the first day or two. My usual bag of tricks was kind of not, it wasn't helpful for him. And at one point I was like, Brian, just grab him by the throat. And it worked like that. And so I started giving him primarily physical cues, and it worked really, really well. And so I was like, I'm going to do more of this with I had a session with Courtney that afternoon, and I was all like, throw your arm around him, put your hand on his shoulder. And it worked great. So, and I learned that, you know, I mean, look, I'd had some classes in theory about, you know, physicalizing and playable objectives, all that kind of actory stuff. But until you see it done, you don't necessarily have an appreciation for how much of our like emotional memory lives in the body and how useful that can be to an excellent talent, which everybody here, I think, profoundly qualifies. So I thank you, but I turn it around back on you guys and on the folks at Bethesda for giving us the room to experiment that way, because we started this game at a time in this industry when there was still a fair amount of churn and burn VO being done, where they were like, we got to get 300 lines this hour, do an A and a B and pick the best one. And early on we went to, we went and we're like, hey, we'd like to, experiment with like pre-life and doing scenes in runs and dish lines and all this kind of stuff and see if we can get a richer result. And that didn't just happen with this game. That was happening more broadly throughout the industry at the time. But this was one of the first to really dig into a richer, more sort of creative arts driven way of doing game VO. And, we wouldn't have been able to do that if Todd and Emil and Ferret and Will and Corey and all the great folks who design these worlds, write these characters, hadn't been like, yeah, go for it. We'll spend money on you guys screwing around in your imaginations. Go for it, just to get a better result. So it was the license to do that kind of produced this result, and it has spread, I think, outward from games like this, games like Mass Effect, where they first started to do that kind of thing. So much love and appreciation there as well.
I'm just curious, can I ask a question? Because Jon, you haven't said very much, and I just want to know, did you have like prior experience, or were you just like, had you done any games or anything like that, or did you just come in just like boom?
No, I worked primarily in the theater, and so this was like my first experience in this world, and it came out of nowhere. I actually was hired initially to do the demo of the game, and it was like have VO, have mocap. And I remember just like strapping up in all the gear and like getting on that stage and just having fun. But I thought that was going to be it. And then like a few months later, my agents called. They were like, the producers loved you. They want to bring you back. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll go back. And that's when it was the VO work. And it's funny hearing you all talk about the gestures, because we shot this, or we recorded this, I feel like over the span of a couple years. And I remember the gesture Cal gave me was like, grab your belt buckle. He's like, to get that Minuteman effect for Preston, like grab your belt buckle. And I would do that at the beginning of each session to kind of drop back into the character, because it had been a few months and I hadn't done it and I had almost forgotten about it. But you have to like immediately get back into that world. And that was very, very useful and helpful for me.
Yeah, I wanted to actually go to individual questions. I just didn't want to interrupt that. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful moment there. Everyone was just loving on each other. I wanted to hone in on some individual questions. Jon, the chat was erupting with demands to hear more from you. So I was like waiting for my moment. Then Courtney set me up, and I'm going for the dunk here. So, all right. So first off, Jon, I got to give you a compliment that came in from Munchie. It's a pretty intimate write-up here. It says, for Jon, it's not a question. I just want to say thank you. Preston's always been one of my favorite characters, but recently he's meant a lot to me these past few years. Having to deal with depression and anxiety similar to that of Preston, I've not only felt more connected with the character, but he's helped me through some very tough times, particularly this year, with his never-ending drive to help those in need and his search to find good in the world to keep him going forward. He's been an inspiring character that's helped me going forward and helped me going and moving forward. So again, thank you so much for lending your talent to a wonderful character that helped me and a lot of other people these past 5 years.
Cool.
With that said, I had to set you up because.
Thank you.
You don't get that in theater, do you?
Yeah. You don't. But with that said, our number one highest rated comment, and Jon, man, you already know where I'm going. Future String 650 wrote in. He's like, Jon needs to say, a settlement needs our help, and I'll mark it on your map. Can you give that to us? And we'll talk a little bit about the development of this line.
It was such a rarely heard line in the game, though.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like after the year that we've all just been through, we all realize another settlement does need our help. And I will mark it on your map.
There we go.
I love it.
Oh man, that line has, I feel like that line will be with me until the day I die.
Well, that was one of my questions. A lot of people are writing in. Jesse DeVries wrote in specifically saying, when it comes to this settlement meme, so to speak, is it something that would it ever bother you as an actor? Because you put in a great performance, and I don't think it takes away from it. If anything, it kind of adds to it. But does that ever bother you at all that your character is associated with something like that?
No, I had to. I mean, like you said, you depersonalize the work once you leave the booth, and it was really unexpected because I'd never gone viral or anything like that, and so it felt like this tsunami came out of nowhere. And I remember specifically on Instagram, every time I would post a picture, all these comments would just stream in, another settlement needs your help, I'll mark it on your map. And I was like, what is going on? What is happening right now? And then I remember I set my account to private, and a lot of fans were like, oh man, you all drove him away. What's going on? And I was like, you know what? I love it. I'm into it. I remember reading like this BuzzFeed article with the Preston Garvey memes, and I was cracking up. I was just like, this is amazing. So now when I get those comments on my posts, or when I get sort of like DMs, I'm just like, you know what? I love it. Like, it's still with people, and like they're still remembering this. And it has meant a lot to so many. I remember getting like a message on Twitter earlier this year from a kid in Ireland. He's like, hey, I'm 12 years old. I just started playing Fallout 4 with my dad, and Preston has given me so much hope this year. And I was like, oh my God, like it's so spectacular, just like the impact it can have on people worldwide. When, like we were just saying, recording this whole experience was like being on the moon, just in a booth with the director just kind of guiding you and leading you along the way.
Yeah, I mean, what was that like? Because when the game was revealed on the big stage, it was like 30 minutes of gameplay, and you were one of the first faces to hit that screen and hand over the laser musket. What was that like? I don't know if you watched it live or not, but when you did see that, was that a cool moment watching your character just be one of the first revealed?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I didn't watch it live.
Okay.
But when I played the game, I mean, I didn't realize I would run into my character that early. And the first couple missions, I was just like, this is so surreal. But once I was done with Preston, I was like, I actually want to meet all the other characters. Like, I'm not as interested because I know what I said and I know what I did. And I want to kind of get away from him. And then I realized you can't get away from him. Like,
can't
at all. I would actively like try to like sprint away from Preston, and he'd find his way.
You were great at the beginning of the game, but I gotta be honest with you. After about 400 hours, I put you in a furry head and an evening dress. It just made so much came up to me.
I mean, well, yeah. Speaking of inescapable Bethesda voices, Wes, you certainly, in my opinion, are one of them. I mean, Mr. Burke, the Oblivion Guards for sure. G.O.A.T, the Silver Shroud. What's interesting about a lot of your roles, I feel, in Bethesda games is, like the Oblivion Guard is a perfect example. It's no disrespect to the character you play, but yeah, it's supposed to be, I guess, inconsequential, right? You're the guard, but all of a sudden in this, stop right there, prisoner. Like, it's just this
hold criminals. Yeah.
And it's like, it's one of those things where for you talked about, you heard your kids killing you. Like, you must hear your voice a disgusting amount in these games, right?
Yeah, but I ignore my voice when I'm playing. The only voice that matters for me when I'm playing is my own character, and I hear the other stuff. If I listen to me, I'm listening to hear how it works immersively, because as you said, we all sit in a booth by ourselves and we've got somebody on the side of the glass. I'm lucky a lot of the time I have Mark Lampert over there, but the fact of the matter is you spend a lot of isolated time. So when you get a chance to listen to it in the games, I'm listening to see how it works story and how they all mesh together. And if we were successful in making that happen. And once that's done, I'm the player character. I'm not the NPC anymore. And I've told myself to shut up many times. How many times have I told, when Fox comes up to me and says something like, I can't believe no one attacks us when you're around. And I'm like, because you killed them all, Fox. You killed them all. So I'll talk back to my characters when I'm playing it, and it doesn't seem like me. Does that make sense? Maybe I'm just
very immersed. You sound like you get really into it. I love that.
I love playing the story. I love other people's stories. I'm moved and affected by these things probably more because you are playing and because you get involved. It's better than a movie in a way. It's better than a TV show, which is passive viewing. In this case, you're in the story, so you're feeling the emotion of it. And as a voice actor, if you're intimidated by anything, it's to be intimidated by the fact that if you don't really feel it when you're doing the character, then they're not going to feel it. And if they lose immersion and they lose that bit of story, I don't want them to. I don't want them to think about me or my character, or have it be something that, it takes them out of the game in any way. Make it a part of the game. Make it a part of their experience.
That's one of the great things about getting to do this job too, and it's made me so sad in the last year, is not being able to go out and meet people, because I do feel like, I have friends that do a lot of on-camera stuff, and it's always amazing because the ones that are on the movie screens, people are like, oh, when they see them out in public, it's like, oh my God, that's, Tom Cruise or something like that. Not that I'm friends with Tom Cruise, because I'm not, but not yet. But and then my friends who do television, people are like, I know you, wait, you're like, did we go to high school together? There's like this familiarity, and it's because they've been in your living room. So you're like, wait, we've gone to dinner or something, like, were you at a dinner party with me? But for the people that do games, it's this amazing connection when you get to go to a convention and see people, because there's this feeling that where they're like, we fought together. Like you were on my squad. You were like, we have a pre-existing relationship, and because there's so much interaction, like on social media and stuff. I mean, I see people and I'm like, bring it in. I mean, like this is such a gift to be able to do this type of acting, because it really is this like instant connection with people, both in the game and outside of the game. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's so true. I had similar experience in that. When people spend hundreds of hours interacting with your character, I was blown away when I didn't even have an Instagram account before I did Fallout. So I threw one up there once I, saw the community and stuff up there, and thought it'd be fun to talk to a few people and just see what's going on. And like what Jon said, getting contacted from people unexpectedly. Oh my gosh. I mean, like over 40 something countries, I was getting DMs and messages and just immersive conversations and interacting with people all over the world based on this game. And over the years, that's been the most incredible experience for me, is people really feel like Courtney said, that you've had experiences together. I mean, people have written me that Deacon has inspired them and helped them get through family problems and finals and has, help them personally through traumas they've been through and been inspirational. It's never something I thought I would get.
Isn't that funny, Ryan? Because one of the biggest complaints in Fallout 4 is that you cannot romance Deacon. And so people are still connected to you despite that love tie just not being accessible.
I still get messages from people that are upset as if I personally chose for this to be the situation. And believe me, Deacon would love to be romanced, but after what
there's some
happened to
interesting
Barbara,
fan art out there, Deacon. So
that's the other thing too. Boy, the amount of memes generated and the fan art. Wow, man. I mean, it's incredible how many just facets that all of your characters.
You haven't lived until somebody has written a couple of your different characters having an affair in fan fiction and sent it to you.
In graphic. Yeah. So that's just been incredible. It's so unexpected. I'm sure everyone here has had that, experience, and it just incredible. Just how many people it touched just all over the world through this game, and really have a sense of community through it, as if, I've gotten to know people through communication, just thousands of people. It's been incredible. Never something I ever got from my on-camera experience at all.
Matt, I had a specific question for you, my friend. Nick Huey, writes in asking, what's it like juggling D&D with all the voice work you have? Like, do you ever get burnt out? And especially when voicing so many characters, like, what is your process like? Do you sleep?
I try and squeeze and sleep when I can. No, I mean it's becoming more progressive challenge, but it just means I have to be a little more picky with the work, which is a nice thing to have, I guess. But it's I love them both. I mean, I grew up playing role-playing games, both video game and tabletop, and I owe a lot of my interest and honestly a lot of, beside my professional training, a lot of my just kind of training as a performer by running games and tabletop games. It's a unique place to kind of live in your imagination and kind of train this same skill set that prepared me for voiceover unexpectedly. So, you know, growing up in theater, growing up playing these games at the table and embodying these NPCs and characters that I created on the spot or developed over time and living in their skin, it all kind of led to this eventual career and prepared me for it. And so I'm very thankful for that. And so as my career has gone on and I've been able to continue to do both of these things professionally is very weird and seems like it shouldn't. It's like a weird monkey paw waiting for the other shoe to drop. But it's a balance. It's tough. But I wouldn't say I get burnout yet because I'm very careful not to. I love both of these facets too much. And if ever I feel like I'm getting close to that precipice, I have to make a change. I have to take a break. I have to find a way to let off some steam because I never want to ever push either of these things to that edge.
Wow. All right. So now your character in Fallout 4, it's very unique, rather, I should say, because you're coming from Fallout 3. You were a little kid. Yeah, if I'm honest, my choice of words would be a little shit. But
oh yeah.
But you know, here's the thing. You know, now you're a grown adult. I don't know how much. I know you were a fan of the originals. You played those. I don't know how much you played of Fallout 3. But did you ever look at the little MacCready when you found out, oh, this is Fallout 4. I am MacCready, and carry maybe a little bit of that. Take any. I don't want to say inspiration, but just take a look at that and see if that would do anything for the character.
I did after the fact because I didn't know what we were working on originally, and then when they said that, yeah, man, it's Fallout, don't say anything. I was like, MacCready, wait, like from like Little Lamplight, MacCready, and they were like, yeah, actually, I was like brain explosion moment, and remembered how much of a little shit he was in the game, and was like, okay, well, I'm glad that he's developed a little bit since then, and then also learning about his backstory and kind of the tragedy that he's gone through and how that changed him as a character, and that kind of understanding how a person can be forged by a very harsh life in a harsh place to be a dark person and then through tragedy kind of mellow out and kind of begin to really take stock in the things that are meaningful in their life and how that would affect them, but still have that layer of being a shit, you know, because MacCready is, even though he's an adult, he's kind of a whiny bitch at times. Sorry, you know, he just is. And that's part of the charm. And so trying to ride that balance was kind of a fun challenge to let a little bit of that peek through here and there, but hopefully not be too annoying.
No, I wouldn't say. I thought one of your characters was also one of the more surprising ones. Now, another question we got, and this one's strange. I want your speculation, Matt. That's all I want, okay? Just a little speculation here. So you can romance MacCready, unlike Deacon. Sorry, Ryan. And when you finish your romance, MacCready says, I never knew you could do that with a mute fruit. What do you think happened with the mute fruit? You think they ate it together, maybe? It may not be as horrible as we're imagining.
I'm just going to say there are a lot of applications for mute fruit, especially when you have a lot of free time on your hands out there in the Commonwealth.
No, a big uptick in mute fruit sales actually.
Tremendously. Great lubricant.
If mute fruit speak.
I will curse you, internet. I a gentleman never tells. But what I will say, that line, I remember we recorded it, we laughed about it because it's just the innuendo. And then when we played the game, my wife made me romance myself because she thought it was funny, and I'm like, I don't want to. She's like, you have to. Who else gets to have this opportunity? And I'm like, fine. And so we go through with it. And then some of those lines, kind of like after waking up in the morning, I begin to turn on her because then we wake up in the morning and kind of look over her and be like, so you ready to face the day? We're like, I didn't know you could do that with mute fruit. And she just slapped me and be like, stop it. I'm like, hey, you started this.
So this is, okay. So you carry your role into the real life. This is some real life role playing.
Exactly. It's just a different kind of role playing in the bedroom. Yeah.
All right. Peter, I wanted to go ahead and fire some questions. Who, me?
What?
Which Matt? We got two Matts here.
Matty definitely got a little finger right there.
Like, I can't help it.
He
I'm
can
sorry.
feel his YouTube monetization status flickering.
Right.
I'm losing my money. Why did Matt do that? Peter, got some questions for you.
Okay.
All right. So I've been
No mute fruit.
no mute fruit. I promise. That was probably our most innuendo-based question.
Don't know until you tried it.
No, I just want to, once again, I want your thoughts, and then we'll get into more, focused, mature questions. But I want to know what your thoughts are that one of the most popular Fallout 4 mods is turning Paladin Dance into Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Are you okay with this?
It's funny. One of the things I do as a voice actor is I voice match sometimes celebrities for other projects. And, I've replaced dialogue for Tim Allen. So
really, I didn't know that.
To infinity and beyond. That's, how can you not say that sounds like Paladin Dance? It's perfect. And it lends itself to it. I thought it was hilarious when I first saw it.
It's the little hat. It's the little astronaut hat. I really think that's what he, great big armor shape and that little astronaut hat. It's sort of irresistibly Buzz Lightyear like.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just had to pick your brain on that a little bit. What I really want to know is one of the bigger reveals in Fallout 4 is when you find out Paladin Dance, his whole purpose is screw the synths. Turns out our man is a synth. So Commander Jane Shepard wrote in asking, what would be the first thing you would do when you discovered your own character was a synth?
I, for whatever reason, seem to play a lot of androids who are searching for their humanity. It seems to be a theme in my career. So it's one that I'd actually visited before. I loved when I got into the booth the day that they revealed that. And I was like, oh, what a great turn for this character. Because up until that point, he was just, Joe Soldier. I'm Mr. Fight the, kill those ferals, kill those synths. And when Danse finds out that he is a synth, it's this huge, identity crisis that he goes through. And it's even given that you're the only person in the booth, it's a great, run that you can do.
All right, Danny, it's your turn. Here we go. So one of the interesting things with Hancock is, and I didn't realize this until I researched, because I like Hancock a lot, but I didn't realize this. Apparently he's sexy. This is what the internet has deemed. He's a ghoul with a very colonial style outfit. And apparently this is sexy. And I think part of it's the voice, Danny, so congrats. But Pitchforker asks, does Danny know that unlike other ghoul characters in the Fallout franchise, Hancock is considered a sexy beast? That is the quote. How does an actor make a ghoul sexy? So I guess you can get into, really what you did to voice Hancock and how you brought him to life, because he is very different, pardon me, from other ghouls in the game for sure.
Danny does know that Hancock is a little sexy. I didn't know that during the recording. I mean, I didn't, again, like everybody else here, I didn't know it was Fallout for a long time. And my experience with Fallout before that was pretty superficial. So I didn't really know it, I wouldn't have known what your average Fallout ghoul was like. And I didn't know he was a ghoul. I mean, I didn't know what this character looked like for most of the recording. And then when I saw a drawing, I was surprised. So I wasn't playing it. Nobody ever said, hey, do that sexy ghoul thing. And even if someone had directed, Cal or whoever had directed, play that sexy. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you could kind of rough up your voice a little bit and make it kind of sexy in that way. But I don't know if you can really, how do you do sexy? You just kind of, I don't know. I mean, you could, I don't know, just next time when you do this line, picture Aphrodite in your head. I don't know how you would do it exactly. I think you just, I saw the guy actually, look, I saw him as a kind of a lovable rogue kind of character, that clicked for me. It was like, okay, I haven't seen this kind of character exactly, but I've seen this sort of archetype, whether it's Han Solo. And I guess there's something kind of inherently dashing about these sort of chaotic good, rebels with the hearts of gold. So I don't know if that turns into like sexiness for somebody else on the other end.
It seems.
Hey, please have at it.
Confidence is sexy.
Yeah, there we go. That's what it is. I mean, the first time you meet Hancock, he literally stabs someone right in the middle of town. So that's the confidence people are really looking for in their lives.
The tricorn helps too, I think.
Yeah, I think if you can wear a tricorn hat without irony, that's sexy.
True. You don't look foolish in it. It works. Especially when you dressed up as the character. I saw you dressed up as him, and like you even rocked it there. Yeah.
I've done that. Yes. That's an interesting experience. Let me tell you.
You were singing Fallout songs dressed up as Hancock.
I did know that.
That was awesome to see. And I noticed when I was like researching you more, you have shaped my childhood, Danny. All right. You did singing for games like Rock Band.
Eddie, I'm your father.
You kind of are, because like Guitar Hero was always there for me, and you were singing to me day in, day out. So how do you go from something like that to something like Hancock? And I know, like you said, you didn't know what Hancock was, but moving your voice from just you're rocking out to years later, just, hey there, what is that actually like as an actor?
Guitar Hero is, that was a great experience. I worked with a studio up in the Bay Area where I was from, and called Wave Group. And then they kept bringing me back when I was in LA, after I'd moved to LA. And, it's singing and acting. They do cross over. There's some similarities. They're different beasts, but they're maybe cousin beasts. You have to engage your imagination to some extent when you're singing, especially emotional quality is important. For Guitar Hero and Rock Band and other games, that music games that I did for them, you are definitely trying to sound like whoever it is that they're reproducing, because, it was a lot easier and cheaper for them at first to recreate these songs in every little detail than to actually use the masters. And then later on, as the game became huge, they started just using the masters, and they started hiring us less and less. So you're definitely, trying to imitate whoever it is, whether it's Jello Biafra or Perry Como or whatever.
Would be good.
And I did, I did a bunch of different voices, singing voices in Guitar Hero and all those games. I don't know. It's kind of like any voiceover video game experience where you just kind of come in and knock it out and go back to your life, and then it kind of takes on a life of its own. And the experience of being inside is probably being inside and doing it is very different from the experience of everybody else out in the world playing the game. It's completely different. You're just in a booth trying to do your best, and then you're gone and you go get a burrito.
Oh, burrito. Yeah, it's funny because Courtenay Taylor, you're known for Taco Bell. I associate you with Taco Bell with your with that one line. I don't know if it was Cal who sent it to me.
It's my fault. I said
it is Cal's fault.
It's my fault. I'm sorry, Courtney. Had I but known. We had
I was very busy during some of these recordings, and I don't normally eat fast food, but if I do, I'm going to go grab like a burrito. And so I went to Taco Bell and grabbed a burrito, and then ran into my session, and I don't know what was in the burrito, but it ended up, sometimes I would just be really tired, because I would always have the afternoon session. And if I had worked sessions earlier in the morning, I would be kind of burnt by the time I got in at 2:00. And so I would kind of pump myself up in the booth a lot. And so I would dance around and do stuff. And so I guess I didn't realize that they recorded a lot of that. And one of the things that they recorded was me shadowboxing in the booth and whispering to myself, "I'm badass motherfucker, powered by Taco Bell." Because I was trying to pick up my energy. And
I was quietly like, "Tell me we recorded that."
And then it sprouted all of these memes of me as like a chalupa. Like people started photoshopping my head on chalupas, and Todd Howard as like the Pope, like dipping me into holy water, and I am now forever associated with Taco Bell.
You were my Twitch sub notification for a while with that. I had you whenever someone subbed, they were powered by Taco Bell. That was the joke. it was like that for a couple of years. So I appreciate your work.
And I have also done commercials for
food
Taco
you
Bell,
talk
so-
about. Any food you talk about, you hear about for the rest of your life. I can't go anywhere without somebody offering me cheese these days.
Cal and I also had a thing about I lost my mind when, again, if you work all day in the booth by yourself, possibly by the end of the day, you might be a little crazy punchy. And there was a line where I say, this place looks like this looks like a dump to me. And it's not funny right now, but it was hilarious in the moment.
I can specifically recreate.
Pair that with Taco Bell and you got a real problem, of course.
So, you know, the dish line is somebody's like, well, this town's not so bad. And the character's supposed to say, looks like a dump to me, right? In reference to what the other character, but Courtney got it again, like, looks like a dump to me. I was like, no.
Emphasis.
As if the dish line had been, what's this? And so we lost 5 minutes to giggling because we're mature professionals.
And now, anytime I see the word dump, I have to take a photo of it and send it to Cal. And there was a book, I was in like Boston or something, and there I came across in a supermarket an actual recipe book of dump cakes, which I didn't know was a thing because they don't have dump cakes in San Francisco and Australia. And so I was just like, what is this? And so now also dump cake memes. So.
Wow. Very interesting. So I have more questions for each of you individually, but I also had some group activities that I wanted to make sure we definitely get to. Okay. Because these are important, guys and gals. So I wanted to do a little bit of a quote quiz. So no one's being put on the spot, so don't worry. I know pop quizzes were awful back in school. Don't worry, I'm not going to bring you back there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read the quote, and I want you all to kind of guess maybe who said this line. Because Fallout 4 has some pretty wild, wacky dialogue, and I just want to see where you might place your character. And maybe someone will be shocked that, wait, holy shit, I said that. So the first one here is, and this is actually in the game. I'm here to pick up an order, 2 large pepperoni and a calzone. Name is fuck you. Any ideas?
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Cal, you probably know all.
I know all of these. So I think I'm going to step out of this.
So fair. Answer any of these because you remember everything.
So Cal's the cheap
player character.
Peter is correct. Yes, this was male player character.
Yeah.
And me.
Did you say? I was looking. I didn't know if it was. I was looking up if it was just the male or if it was female as well.
Yeah.
Here's a little insight about that. The scripts for the player character voices were identical initially. Mm-hmm. And then as Brian and Courtney brought their particular chops to the different scripts, they're mostly the same, but as we went on a little bit at the corners, the devs would start writing stuff that was like a little, because they decided, okay, well, before the bombs, Courtney, you know, the female player character was a military lawyer, right? So she likes puzzles and like figuring out intellectual pursuits and like nailing people with rhetoric. And they decided that Brian's character was just like a foot soldier, right? And so you may notice that when they get to like lock picking or like following the clues to find the underground in North Boston, Courtney's clues are all like, I'm figuring out a puzzle and I'm really engaged with this. And Brian's are like, I don't know, maybe it's left. So the script started out identical, and over time they just in tiny little spots they would adjust them ever so slightly for the 2 player characters. But all those like flippant, sarcastic, like players and asshole X button lines, which are the most fun to record, those should all be the same.
Except for Molly. Doesn't Brian say there's Molly McFuck yourself or something? Molly fuckface. he's like Michael fuckface.
That's right. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know that because what I was doing when I was writing these down, I was making sure, because there's websites dedicated to funny Fallout 4 lines and all that stuff. And when I saw that, I'm like, let me make sure if Courtney wasn't the one who said that. And all I was finding was just the male player character. Okay, so that's definitely good to know. All right, the next one. I think that I probably should have saved that from the middle, right? Because I just went out strong, and it's really hard to follow that up. It really is. So lower the expectations a little bit. Next quote. Next person that asks me to shag is getting a well-placed kick, if you get my meaning.
Austin.
Katie knows that one.
I know that one.
Yes,
Very well. I use that line all the time in real life.
I was going to say, that sounds like something that maybe you made in the booth based off an experience, and then just, you're like, that would work in game.
Exactly.
All right, let's see here. Next. So be it. Death has come for you, evildoer, and I am its
Shroud.
There it is. All right. Silver Shroud. All right, what else we got here? Okay, this one's a little interesting. Used to go with a gal from Malden, and to head off to the next natural question, no, she wasn't a toaster.
Is that a Nick line?
That is a Nick line.
Yeah.
I love Nick. Nick's one of my favorite characters.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
was so much fun to do.
Oh, he was my companion the whole game, pretty much, except for when I was forced to romance myself. But
Of course, when you were forced to. Yes.
It's a Saturday, Matt. It's a Saturday.
Nick, what was that? I'm sorry, not Nick. Steven, what was that like? Because you did Nick, you did Dima, you did Codsworth as well. But when it came to Nick and Dima, they're both same style of character in a way. Like, how do you slightly differentiate your voice for those roles, if at all?
Yeah, that was tricky. I remember there was a lot of back and forth with Mark Lampert at Bethesda, trying to zero in on exactly the right voice, and it was we wanted the relationship to be there, but also make it distinct too. So just a lot of trial and error, I think, and an understanding of who this character was. We finally got there, I think, pretty well.
One of the things that I think that those two characters are a testament. I mean, if your mind isn't already blown that Nick Valentine and Codsworth are the same actor, right? Nick and Dima, we went in and said to Steven, they have the same hardware, right? So it can't be like a different wacky voice, right? They're the same appliance, right? They're the same unit. It's all character, right? So if you listen to Nick Valentine and Dima, it's such brilliant work, Steven. Really, honestly, the timbre of their voice is the same, right? If you analyzed it, it would be the same person, but the life experience, the attitude are so different. That's one of my favorite things in the game is how the voice print for those characters is so similar because they're identical robot bodies, but their personality, the life experience that they bring to it makes them feel like completely different, and they are completely different characters. I just think that's such a cool.
Interestingly enough, my body was identical when both times I was recording those two.
Oh, method.
Yeah.
Same hardware.
Yeah.
Now, the other question we got, Steven, was, how many cups of coffee did you go through recording all the player names when you were doing Codsworth? I mean, you did that for 76 as well. I mean, you went through a lot of names, I imagine. So how long did that take? Was that a multiple session type of thing?
Well, I was blessed to have very kind directors who would always save those name sessions for the last hour of any 4-hour session. So it wasn't. I think it took like 4 or 5 sessions to get through them all, and then another couple when we came back for 76 as well. And it was interesting. It was challenging. I don't think I've ever done anything for or since like that.
Do you ever enter that kind of drone state? You're like, Danny, Doug, and you're just like another name, and you're just like, when will this end?
Yeah, there was a certain amount of that, and I distinctly remember literally slapping myself in the face a couple of times to just get out of that lockstep, you know.
All right. Back to the quote quiz. This one's a gimme. All right. Giving you a free A here. Never thought a reporter could consider themselves a success until someone threatened their life. But me, I am very successful. Who could that be?
It's got to be MacCready.
Really?
Yeah.
What about Piper?
Look at Courtney's down there like, hello.
You see, the people want to hear more from Piper. So, Courtney, spotlight's on you.
That's me.
All right.
I said that.
FPS Gaming wants to know,
or
rather they state first, you did a fantastic job performing as Piper and made the role truly special. The question is, what was it like going back into the games industry? And I think you said it was your first time at the beginning of this.
Well, sorry, finish the question.
Oh, I was just going to say, and how different is that from TV and movies where you've really, ever since we talked back in, I think it was 2015, you've really taken off. You've grown so much.
Thank you. You know what? It wasn't my first game. My first game was a small part in Gears of War, but that's because I went to a high school with Cliff Bleszinski.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
This is so you nailed a role because of a high school friend.
Well, we were friends, and that's when he was like, "I'm gonna grow up and make video games," and everyone was like, "No, shut up, keep dreaming. That's never gonna happen." And he did. It was when he was working, when Jazz Jackrabbit was just kind of a twinkle in his eye, and so then we had stayed in touch, and we were talking one day, and he was like, "Hey, why don't you just come in?" And I didn't think, I thought that I was just testing something out, like helping him get a feel for the character, just recording something to help. And then they were like, I did the session. They're like, click, we're done. Thanks so much. That's going to sound great in the game. And I was like, this is for the actual game? So I didn't know that. But that was just a day. The work on Fallout was 2 years. And
Right.
it was the mocap and the PCAP and the VO, which we did, Cal, didn't we do that and then we did it again?
So one of the things that made Fallout 4 different from past games from Bethesda was that it was recorded iteratively, as you guys are saying. In the old days, they'd make the entire game, and then in a space of like a month and a half, we'd have to record all 170,000 lines of dialogue, which is why it's like if you Skyrim, which everybody is a beloved game. I worked on it, I enjoyed it. It's a wonderful game, but like a lot of the dialogue for that, we were churning through it just to get it done in time, right? And one of the things that was cool about this project is they were like, it was the first, and now everybody's doing this all the time, but it was one of the first games where they were like, we're going to record as we go. So, and that's going to necessitate some re-records because we're going to redesign stuff, but we want to start getting voice in early. The first time we have any kind of idea of a build of a quest, we want to get voice in early and experiment with it the way we do everything else in the world of games, right? We want to do iterations. And so, like I said, Jon and Courtney Ford were our day one for any kind of performance for this game was in a mocap volume on the west side with you guys. Just, they had just figured out the shape of Diamond City. They had just figured out the balcony and the fight with the Deathclaw. And they were like, we're going to start seeing whether full performance capture can be used in a Fallout game, right? Is there a way that we can use full PCAP, considering the fact that any one of these lines has to attach to any other? And so you guys probably remember, instead of just doing a big scene work, we'd have to like T-pose, find a character neutral, come alive, deliver a line, and return to a character neutral that could be animated into any other thing. It's a thing that like Mark Lampert and I developed, was this ability, because typically when you're doing performance capture, right, it's technical at the start. You make a certain pose and the computer recognizes what you are, and then it's like you get a sort of second action where you can go into the scene, and then everybody has to come back to that. But when you're going line to line within the scene, you don't have to worry about it, because the way these games are work where any line has to be able to attach to any other line, we had to figure out a way that the characters would not be like ending in a really extreme posture and then like bashing into a really timid posture immediately afterwards. So we invented this idea of like character neutral as separate from just your T-pose. And these guys were the first two to try and tackle that. And did so beautifully. And that was day one. And they experimented with that for like 6 months before any other voice recording was done, right? Just those two scenes. And only after they had experimented with that, with those performances, that data, those builds of those two areas, did they come back and start doing iterations of the rest of the game in earnest. And that's when Brian and Courtney and all the other companions started coming in. And then beyond that, there was an additional 2 years of iteration, almost 3 if you count the DLCs. But you two guys, from your perspective, it would have been not just re-recording stuff that we had done initially because the design of the game had changed, but also accounting for like them figuring out exactly how much performance capture they could use. We ended up for most of the game, the rest of the game, doing a lot more just facial data capture, because it ended up that they were having to throw out so much of the great work everybody was kind of doing in the body just because of the way, a game this interactive works. But yeah, from your perspective, it would have been like all that recording in the volume, then at least 6 months of who knows what, then coming back for like day one of recording voice and face, and then doing that again and again for many months over the following 2 years.
Extensive, man. I'm learning so much incidentally through this. One question I got a lot for you, Courtney. I think people just really connected deeply with Piper because everyone wants to know how Piper would handle the lockdown and the pandemic. Just like, what would she be doing? How would she be just chilling at home?
I think she would handle it well.
Okay.
I think that she has a little sister she has to take care of, and so she probably would want to keep her calm and make sure that she doesn't, get too scared. So she wanted to keep everything, keep the anxiety down a little bit, even if she was feeling it within herself. I don't know. Would there be the shortage of toilet paper?
Let's say she had all the toilet paper in the world. She was one of the people who went out and bought in bulk.
be rich in the fall world.
That is true. That is a currency.
Yeah, the new cap.
Yeah. I think she would have been prepared for anything and like ready to go. Like, oh yes, this is
perfect. It's just it was weird because everyone was asking about that, but Piper in particular got that one a lot.
Huh.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe it's because she does news. Maybe she was going to write an article or something about it.
Right.
I don't feel like Piper would be good at staying at home. I feel like she'd be wearing an N95 mask and going out and shoving a recorder in the faces of the people responsible for dealing with the pandemic.
Why is this happening?
Right, yeah.
You do this.
I could see that.
Do you think maybe like a lot of people are just fantasizing about quarantining with Piper? Like, help them with it.
Look, I don't know.
Is that what this is really about?
I don't know. I everyone loves to argue in every video game ever who the quote is best girl. That is a huge thing. So that would not surprise me, but who knows? Now I want to move on from the quote stuff to the Fallout 3 GOAT. I want to make sure we squeeze this in, and then we'll go back to questions after this if we have time, because we're nearing about a half hour left. So for those who are watching and unfamiliar, and for maybe some of you who are unfamiliar, Fallout 3 does a little bit of a test in the beginning of the game to decide what your job is in the vault. You take the GOAT, and maybe you'll end up being a janitor or an engineer. I don't know. So as a group, I want to see where you're going to land in the vault. So we're going to take this together. I'm going to read the question and then your answers. I want you all to discuss and figure out what we're going to do. So there's 9 questions. So I want to go through them, and I'll let you all know at the end of this when this quiz is this test is complete, what your occupation will end up being. All right. So question 1, You are approached by a frenzied vault scientist who yells, "I'm going to put my quantum harmonizer in your photonic resonation chamber."
Hey.
What is your response? Answer 1 is, "But doctor, wouldn't that cause a parabolic destabilization of the fission singularity?" Next is, "Up yours too, buddy." 3, "Say nothing, grab a nearby pipe and hit the scientist in the head to knock him out. For all you knew, he was planning to blow up this vault." And the last one is, "You're going to say nothing, but slip away before the scientist can rant on." What is your choice?
Mine is 1.
1.
4.
1 would be the smart thing to do, but is that what we do?
All right. It looks
Mine
like
is 2, followed closely by 3.
Whoa. Okay. We got
2 leading into 3.
Yeah, I'm with Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I think 2 leads into 3 and then sneakily sneak away in 4.
I'll go with that.
I'm a little surprised there isn't
All
an
of the
option
above.
that's like, bring it on. You bet.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I just say I'm not romanceable.
There you go.
So are we going with up yours too, buddy? Number 2?
Sure.
I think 4-1, didn't it?
4-1? I saw 3 4s and I
hands for 2.
No?
Hands for
No one just
and
does.
then, now hands for 4.
4
wins.
is it. 4 is it. All right. The beauty of the internet. Number 2. While working as an intern in the clinic, a patient with a strange infection on his foot stumbles through the door. The infection is spreading at an alarming rate, but the doctor has stepped out for a while. What do you do? Number 1, amputate the foot before the infection spreads. Number 2, you scream for help. 3, medicate the infected area to the best of your abilities. Or 4, you're going to restrain this patient and merely observe as the infection spreads. Now, I imagine you're all very nice people, so I'm going to hope that 4 isn't the answer.
I'm going for 4.
Whoa!
I'm committing to 4 right now.
Of course.
All right. I'm seeing a combination of 3 here, but
Yeah, I'll go 3.
3?
I'm going to go for number 1. You get so few options to cut off people's feet at work.
All right. 3 it is. We're going to medicate it to the best of our abilities.
Yes.
I'm proud of you all. All right. Number 3. Question number 3. You discover a young boy lost in the lower levels of the vault. He's hungry and frightened, but he also appears in possession of stolen property. What do? Number 1, you give the boy a hug. You tell him it's going to be okay. 2, confiscate the property by force and leave him there as punishment. Number 3, we're going to find out what kind of people you really are now. Number 3, pick the boy's pocket to take the stolen property for yourself and leave the boy to his fate. Number 4, lead the boy to safety, then turn him into the overseer.
Is cutting off his foot not an option?
This time, sadly, not.
Can we rob him and then turn him over to someone?
Let's see here. You can confiscate the property and leave him, or you can pick his pocket. And yeah, you can pick his pocket and leave him, or just take the property by force and leave him. There is no take it and then bring him in. There's no best of both worlds. You have to make a choice.
Now it's holidays.
We're 1.
Is it me
Yeah, 1.
or is it the character?
Yeah, we're answering as our characters. Right?
2 very different answers.
It is you putting yourself into the characters. Technically, it's a reflection of yourself, I would say.
Ooh, good.
Stolen property, Piper doesn't like that, but it's a kid, so they have to have a good reason. So the hugging. Where are your parents?
Yeah, right. That's my question. But it looks like 1 has dominated. All right. Question number 4. This one's simple, I think. It's not as controversial, I'll say that much. Number 4. Congratulations. You made one of the Vault 101 baseball teams. What position do you prefer? Pitcher, catcher, designated hitter? None. You wish the Vault had a soccer team.
But no shortstop?
We get out in the field.
I'm with you, Peter. I'm shortstop all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess that would be, this is where Bethesda screwed up, right? They gave you some of the worst positions that I don't think people want to play. Catcher's going to mess up their knees.
Yeah. Pitcher is a huge skill to have. DH would be the only one that I could.
Yeah, I'd say DH.
Yeah, DH too.
All right.
Even though I'm
hitter right here.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a National League guy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Designated swatter.
Do we have any Mets fans here, or am I alone in my little corner here?
The DH is soon going to be universal.
Oh, yes, it better.
It's coming.
A lot of teams need that.
I don't know.
Question number 5. We're halfway there. We're all doing well. This one, we're back to controversy, okay? Your grandmother invites you to tea, but you're surprised when she gives you a pistol and orders you to kill another vault resident. What do you do? Number 1, obey your elder and kill the vault resident with the pistol. 2, offer your most prized possession for the resident's life. 3, ask Granny for a minigun instead. After all, you do not want to miss this. Or 4, throw your tea in your granny's face. So I feel like you have to get aggressive either way here.
I miss my Nana.
Courtney wants a minigun.
I miss my Nana. So you're making me all sad.
No, I'm sorry.
You would do this with me.
Your Nana?
Yeah, my Nana would totally give me a minigun.
Okay. All right. So we're seeing a couple of 3s, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, I go 2 on that.
2. We're gonna do the right thing here. We're gonna offer our most prized possession. Yeah. See, I was with Peter. Yeah, I'm with Peter. I would throw tea. I'd be like, "Wake up, Granny! Come on, what are you doing?"
Maybe iced tea.
Is she
Definitely a
always
2-4.
ready, or is
Yeah,
it
2.
out of character for Granny? And then you'd have to be like, why?
Good question.
You are so Piper.
That's the Piper question.
Easy casting choice.
All right, so quick show of hands. 2s.
I'm wondering why Granny's
4s.
asking me to do it.
I can take it back from Granny
Let's say
afterward.
Granny has a motive to kill this vault resident because he was going to push her down a flight of stairs. Is that good enough?
Definitely.
Well,
That's different, though.
That's definitely a 3.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you guys some type of backstory.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then I'll go 3.
No, this is about how blindly you adhere to authority.
Yes, this is.
Yeah,
that's perfectly put.
Yeah, you can't.
Stanford
You can't know why Granny wants him dead. You just know.
Yeah.
That she does. Yeah.
Granny doesn't ask for a lot. She always gives you tea. I mean, take somebody out.
Yeah.
If you
know
tried
what?
her tea, it's
Sure,
just
if it wasn't her.
terrible.
She could take them out with her tea.
Look, if Granny really wanted this person dead, Granny could shoot them with the gun herself. The fact that she's
Yeah.
making me do it is manipulation, which means something's not right.
Aha,
Excellent
see?
point.
Listen, at
All
least
this
you
in my
got
upcoming
tea
stage
from your
play:
Granny.
miniguns and old lace.
Keith's got a point.
Granny never
So-
gave me tea.
The answer. What are we selecting here? We
Still with
certainly
4.
still a 4. Show of hands. Just everyone flash the number they're picking. Let's see what we got here.
Got Granny's back. I got Granny's back.
All right, we're seeing
Iced tea. Iced tea.
Okay, I think did 4 win? Hold on, I failed at counting there. We got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I think okay, we got the same. No, we got 4 wins. Okay. Throwing tea in
I
Granny's
love how
face.
nervous Courtney Ford looked there, like it was a real dilemma for you to answer that question.
I'm stressed.
Okay, so we're still dealing with old
Poor
people in
Granny.
question 6, so it doesn't get easier from here. Old Mr. Abernathy has locked himself in his quarters again, and you've been ordered to get him out. How do you proceed? Number 1, you use a bobby pin to pick the lock on the door. 2, you trade a vault hoodlum for his cherry bomb and you blow the lock open. 3, go to the armory, you retrieve a laser pistol, you blow the lock off. Or 4, you walk away and let the old coot rot. That is not my words. That is the words of Bethesda. But what is our selection here? This one's a little, I would imagine, a little easier.
Well, as cool as it would be to have a laser pistol, because you get to keep it after you take it out of the armory, I'm going to go with the bobby pin. So
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For Deacon picking the lock,
Big fan of
100%.
lock picking.
Got to
Right.
pick the lock, Deacon.
That's an easy one then. Okay. We're coming together as a group
Actually,
here.
own the kid.
Behind that door, I might go for 4, but I'm going to say 1.
I was going to say 4, but I was waiting for someone else to say it, so I didn't like that. Go first.
All right. Here's where things start to turn on us a little bit at number 7. Oh no, you've been exposed to radiation and a mutated hand has grown out of your stomach. What's the best course of treatment? Number 1, this is grim, a bullet to the brain. 2, large doses of anti-mutagen agent. 3, a prayer. Maybe God will spare you in exchange for a life of pious devotion. Or 4, removal of the mutated tissue with a precision laser.
Why can't we just use it for shoplifting?
I was going to say,
I was like, I want to keep it.
Enjoying the fact you got an extra hand.
Yeah, I'm like, is it a bad thing?
Well, then I guess you don't want to take any of the removal options at that point, right? You don't want to shoot yourself, and you don't want to remove it with a precision laser. So if you want to keep it, maybe you say a prayer, and then you go shoplift, and you just do the opposite of what you're.
Fashion.
I feel like it might have been a result of prayer if you were like, "Come on, God, give me a hand."
What is number 2? You're
I'm a dad. What are you gonna do?
Number 2, it says large doses of anti-mutagen agent. So you're gonna rely on medicine.
Yeah, too.
That's gonna have bad side effects, though.
Yeah.
I'll take
number 2 is dominated.
I'd probably
however.
just keep the hand.
Yeah.
I think like the hand is a byproduct.
Pat your stomach.
Yeah, I mean, if you're radiated everywhere and the hand's just a part of that, I want the medicine to do all the radiation, not just the hand.
That's true.
Who knows what else is going to grow out of you?
Yourself on the head and rub your stomach at the same time with that other hand.
There you
Third hand.
Okay. People are really liking this. All right. Number 8. A fellow Vault 101 resident is in possession of a Grognak, the Barbarian comic book. Issue number 1. You want it. What's the best way you obtain it? Number 1, you trade the comic book for one of your own valuable possessions. 2, you steal it at gunpoint. 3, you sneak into the resident's quarters. You steal the comic book from his desk. Or 4, slip some knockout drops into the resident's Nuka-Cola and take the comic book when he's unconscious. How are we acquiring this? Has anyone ever felt this passionate about a comic book before?
Well, you're in a vault, first of all, so everybody's going to know where you got it if you put him with the gun or you knock him out. So you're going to be
smart, Peter. You're thinking ahead.
That's actually, you've been through this before, it seems like.
Yeah. The last time I was in a vault and I saw a Grognak I really wanted, I had to trade for it because I knew everybody would know.
That seems like the
they're
most sensible
scared
choice.
of you.
Yeah,
No.
if you steal by gunpoint, right? You own this shit, right? It's your home now.
Yeah.
Real rules, baby.
You've got a bit of a rep after one.
For reasons, she says. So, like it.
So I'm seeing a lot of 1s, 3s. Yeah, 1.
Probably go 1.
1 is it. You're trading. You guys are too good.
You guys are
All right.
so nice.
Lawful good. Fallout's all about chaos, and everyone's like, I'll trade with you.
Yeah.
Not only a little optimism right now.
That's true. Number 9. You decide it'd be fun to play a prank on your father. This one's my favorite. You enter his private restroom when no one is looking, and number 1, loosen
Dump
some
cake.
bolts on the pipe. What's up?
Dump cake.
Powered by Taco Bell.
It's a dump.
And you can.
Beauty.
Number 1, you loosen some bolts on some pipes. When the sink is turned on, the room will flood. Okay. Number 2, put a firecracker in the toilet. That's sure to cause some chaos. 3, this one's fucked up on a whole other level. Break into the locked medicine cabinet and replace his high blood pressure medication with sugar pills. Or 4, manipulate the power wattage on his razor so he gets an electric shock next time he shaves.
Oh.
How are we pranking our father?
I'm thinking number 2 would make for an explosive movement.
Yeah, 2 is the one I always pick whenever I play this game. I always want to drop a firecracker in the toilet. Just a nice, safe explosion.
Yeah. Having done it before, I can say that's a great option.
Yeah.
You've done this before.
I'm glad we're on the same page, Peter. I knew there was a reason we were friends.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of shaving to do, so the shocking happens all the time. So I'm going to say.
All right.
What was 3 again? What was 3?
3 was you break into the locked medicine cabinet and replace
blood
his
pressure
high,
medicine.
you replace the high blood pressure pills with sugar pills instead.
That's hilarious. My dad's having a stroke.
That's terrible.
So, for the show of hands, what are we doing to our sad father who's going to get pranked to shit here?
Number 2, the number 2.
I was converted to.
It's the firecracker. Yeah, good too.
All
Cherry
right, number 2.
Oh, cherry
Firecracker in the toilet. Last question's a real tough one. Who is indisputably the most important person in Vault 101? He who shelters us from the harshness of the atomic wasteland, and to whom we owe everything we have, including our lives. Number 1, Overseer. 2, Overseer. 3, Overseer. 4, Overseer. What does that take?
4.
Which tier of the overseer do you want? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Or does it not matter?
Gotta be 1. It's the top overseer.
Yeah.
That's a good argument.
Most of the most.
Yeah, you won me over, Peter.
I think that's just a gimme because they're all the same.
Yeah,
so.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You successfully answered all the questions for the GOAT. I'm going to hit submit now, and I'll let you know what test you as a group, or I'm sorry, what job you as a group have.
Yes.
All right. This isn't bad. Apparently, you have management material. You're going to be trained as a shift supervisor for the vault. Congratulations to everyone here.
All right.
There's an F in that word. They're not be clear.
I can't imagine a more grim fate than going into management. What have you done to us?
I have never qualified for shift supervisor in any job I've ever had, so that's good.
I don't understand how any of those vile answers that we picked went to shift.
Yeah, right. Like, you had people picking out miniguns, and suddenly you're supervising shifts. What's going on with that?
Like angry janitor, maybe, but okay.
Yeah, right. A firecracker in a toilet's a pissed off janitor move, I would say.
I don't know, man. I've been manager at like a Barnes & Noble cafe once. There's some pretty intense management necessity.
You want to get into this a little bit? Do we want to unpack this?
That cherry bomb would unpack it.
Yeah.
All right. So we got about 20 minutes left. And I want to continue on with some of the Fallout themed activities. This was one of my my questions. So the core of creating your character in Fallout is the special stats, your strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, and luck. Now, I want you all to, we'll go one by one, of course, like everyone's strength, everyone's perception. And we can do maybe the show of hands thing again. I want to know where you put yourself on this spectrum here of, because when I create my character, for example, like I know I'm pretty much a rail, right? Like my strength, it's a 2. Come on. Like it's not high, but my intelligence, I'll give myself a humble 7, maybe. I'm okay with that. So I want to know where we're scaling ourselves here. And because, the idea is with some of these activities is you're sort of creating your own character. We're putting you in the choices that we usually make. So let's start off with strength, ladies and gentlemen. What is your strength at? I gave myself a 2.
Just as our characters or
Yourself.
as ourselves. Oh, okay.
I guess it could be both. Like I said to Keythe, right? I feel like it's a reflection of yourself almost, right? And so my point of view is, yeah, kind of yourself. If you were putting yourself in a video game where you had to survive, though, so you can give yourself a little buffs. Like, in real life, maybe I'm a 2, but maybe in the game, I'll give myself a 4. Because I really got to toughen up for that.
But the more strength you give yourself, the more you can carry. That's what I'm thinking about in the game. I want to carry more stuff.
Okay. So Wes, what are you going with? I feel like you're a high strength guy.
I probably would go at least an 8 in the strength department if I could carry more stuff. If that doesn't matter, if that doesn't affect it, then maybe it would be less. In real life, I get somebody else to move things.
In real life, you pay someone, right? And so
shut up.
Without that luxury, 8 strength is the move. What about the rest of you? When you're how much are we?
I always play as a persuasive puncher. So like,
if you don't get your way,
no stealth, no shooting, just like try to high charisma, and if that fails, then close combat every time.
Just knock them out.
Yeah, just like the hammer. What is that thing called? The Miss Sledge.
Oh, the super sledge.
Sledge. That stuff.
The rocket on it.
Yeah. All that
See,
stuff.
the thing I was really curious about and why I wanted you all to do this is it's going to be a big compliment. I think all of you rank very high in charisma, well before this, right? I think you're all great people.
Stop flirting with us, Matty. We've told you no.
But part of it, your job is you're personable. It's all about the reflection of your personality and the character. So I feel like you rank high there, but the rest, like I want to know what's a Courtenay Taylor luck rating? Are you a lucky gal, Courtney?
Well, Matty, you don't take into consideration that we all have so much charisma that they lock us in rooms by ourselves.
Well, when you're let free,
no take.
The wool's pulled over my eyes, it seems.
Me personally, I'm incredibly lucky. I have spent a life of putting myself in very stupid situations and doing crazy things and have managed to make it unscathed. Well, I don't know. Unscathed is a strong word, clearly, but
Courtney, please expand on this. We're all
Death
really
defying
interested
stunts.
to know what
What do they have
no,
in
no, no, no,
mocap?
just
Lightly scathed.
just like, you know, growing up in San Francisco, you do crazy things and hang out with crazy people and you know,
like what and like what and like who? No, I'm kidding. I don't want to.
I just, you know, I ran around San Francisco. I ran around San Francisco at all hours of the night, and you know, went to punk rock shows and jumped off of things, and you know, just stuff that is.
I want to hang you.
I was about to say.
And you know, and may have had too much psycho or whatever, but so I've always thought that I had a pretty fantastic and very tired guardian angel. So I would say my luck is
tired.
You're like Cait, and you're like Cait in real life. We should.
Yeah.
There's some similarities. I remember auditioning for, actually not auditioning, excuse me, but hearing somehow, I remember Cal, I like saw Cait's lines and I was super pissed in the session because I was like, I didn't read for her. How come I didn't get to read for Cait? And he's like,
yeah, we were doing the loyalty quests stuff for Cait, and of course we didn't have Katy because you know of how these things are. So I was dishing you Cait's lines, and you were like, "How come I didn't get to audition for this?" I'm like, "Because you're already the lead, already the player character." Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like this is my jam though. And he's like, shh.
So funny.
It is indeed your jam.
I love Cait.
If we're talking like special stats of us in the world, like I definitely
let's go with that, right? I feel like I'm.
I think it's easier to put in there. I'm a clumsy oaf. I'm putting myself at an agility of 2, and perception of 1. I am one of the most oblivious in beings and most imperceptive individuals you'll ever meet. I'm the one who goes in the pantry and is like, "We're out of cereal." My wife's like, "There's 3 boxes." I'm like, "Whoa, where did those come from?" Like, I'm the worst.
I relate.
Yeah, no, I fully
admit
it.
What's your Y chromosome, Matthew?
I know. Well, I married my wife for a reason. She keeps me alive.
You all do.
Like
you
14.
all do.
Yeah, no, I'm dead in the first hour in a Fallout world. Like, no survival. And the apocalypse hits. I fully submit.
Yeah, I feel that on the perception level. My mom always says, like, you know, when she'll be like, "Can you go downstairs and get, I don't know, like a can of soup or something like that?" And I'm like, I'll yell upstairs, "Mom, can't find it." She's like, "I didn't teach you to jump. You got to move stuff around." I'm like, "Okay," I still can't find it. And then she has to come down. She's like, "Why did I even bother asking you?" So
they're with you.
Yeah.
I have to say in the chat, someone said that they have seen Matt Mercer dance, and there's no way that he has a low dex score. And I'm gonna have to agree because I have been out dancing with Matt Mercer, and
can we see a little bit of that just now? I mean, are you comfortable?
break it down, buddy.
Break it down. Giving it a show.
You do a little chair dancing, man.
You gotta teach me. I look like an idiot on the dance floor, man. Like I don't know what I'm doing out there.
Oh, I look an idiot too, but the idea is not carrying like an idiot. That's where it comes.
He's got a lot of
bingo.
That's
he also has
that might be
Marisha
some
to
of the best
teach
life
him.
advice I got.
Just saying, man.
Yeah, when it comes, if we're doing our own personal stats here, I know that mine is completely flatlined in everything except luck, because otherwise, if I wasn't topped out on luck, I wouldn't be alive right now.
Yeah.
You're holding that baseball bat. You got to have some strength, yeah?
Just a little bit.
You've been flashing that all stream. You're like, check this out, man. So like, I feel like, you know, that's got to be a little bit of strength in there.
A little bit.
All right. So let's see here. What else do we got in the special stats? Anyone want to talk about their endurance? Mine fluctuates quite a bit depending on my work cycle. I'm working a lot. I am. What's up? Wes,
I think you have to have a ton of endurance to be a working actor. Because
it depends on what kind of endurance. There's different. I could not run a marathon at my age now, but you know, I can put up with 4 hours in a booth. So, you know, that's.
If you can eat as much Taco Bell as Courtenay Taylor does, that's.
I don't know if I can actually.
Courtney Ford is shaking her head, but girl, you do on camera, and the occasions that I dip into on camera, I am like, oh my God, I'm so tired. Like we've been doing this for like 13 hours. And even just sitting here, like you get your little, whatever, the trailer thing and stuff. And like, exhausted even just from just sitting there and going and doing 5 lines, because people are touching you, they're making you look pretty, people are staring at you and stuff, and you're like, the whole time it's exhausting.
Night shoots are rough. Night shoots can be really rough. And on True Blood, consistently, it was 5 p.m. to 5 a.m. Consistently. So that, you know, I'm a sprinter though. It's weird because I kind of save up all my energy and then it goes blah, and then I save it up all again and it goes blah. So you kind of have to hydrate and make sure that you have your snacks and are eating and things like that. But yeah, you know, you just know that you have to kind of turn it on for that burst and then cut, and then you can sit down and, you know, I'm loopy a lot of times though too. Super loopy. And then, you know, when the giggles start, Cal knows it's hard to bring me back. Yes. All the time wasted.
No, it's part of the process. It's part of the process. You gotta say it's all my technique.
I think there's a lot of endurance we take on as actors early in our careers, trying to establish yourself, trying to get seen, dealing with rejection over and over and over again, and just being able to handle that, I think, is part of the endurance that I think that you have to have if you're going to succeed in this business, because it is 80 to 95% rejection.
Yeah, that's our superpower is muscling on after rejection.
Yeah.
I can't see. The thing is, I really can't fathom any of you being rejected. That's like crazy to me. I'm dead serious. I hear your voices and I'm just like, what? Like,
I mean, not 5% of the time. I would say it's 99% of the time.
Yeah. I'm talking about you all. And I think it comes back. It's the baseball. I mean, not to bring it back to baseball again, but like if you're a really great baseball player, you don't get out 1 in 4 times you go to the plate.
Yeah.
So I think that endurance of being able to, I don't know how professional baseball players step up to the plate over and over and over again, knowing that 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 times they're going to head back to the dugout.
Yeah.
3 out of 4 times you fail, you're
strike out.
I mean, you got to imagine, you know, Matty, that there are roles just in this industry, forget movies and television also, but just games. There are roles that go out that any person on this call, save you and me, could plausibly be cast for. And they're all putting in tremendous auditions that are all unique and different and wonderful. And so, and that's just the people on this call. So even when you are superlative in this field, the best, you know, the best of the best, you know, the math is against you, right? So it really is. It is. I think the endurance, both physical and mental, of this job. You know, I think people tend to think of actors when they're not working in the business, they picture actors like around a pool. You know, right? Living with long scarves and glamorous lives.
Like 8 months.
And all acting it can be phenomenally hard on your mental health, your physical health, hours of the day, rejection, pure physical endurance, and then voice acting in particular, particularly in games, you know, where you might have to do 2 hours of the authentic sound of punching or being punched in the face. I mean, try doing that once and seeing how it feels, and then do it for 120 minutes. It really is quite, it's work. It's a lot of work. It's a joy also, which is why we all do it. But it is an amount of work that if you didn't love it, you would not want to do it. You know what I mean? Like there are many easier ways to sit around a pool with a long scarf. You know, you can go be a hedge fund manager,
or you could just punch yourself in the face over and over again every day.
Yeah. But
yeah.
But this is something that I think you only undertake if it is a labor of love.
I think
if anyone has a pool, by the way, I'd love to come over sometime and hang out, or a living room, just either.
Another thing, lots of
come hang out.
Katie, you sit by my pool.
Oh, I'd love it.
He has a pool. The other thing too is that it's not necessarily, when all things are equal, let's say everybody on this call could do a role that's not gender specific, right? And every one of us can turn in something completely great. That's not even taking into consideration the fact that it's not always merit-based. You could be amazing for the job, and somebody's niece or Charlize Theron decides they want to come in and be like, hey, I want to do a little voice on this game or whatever. And that there are a million other reasons. So you can work as hard as you possibly can and stay in the game, but there's endurance and there's resilience and there's also luck involved. So if you don't have those three, just punch yourself in the face every day.
I think Hunter S. Thompson put it best when he said, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro.
Yeah.
I like that.
Bless him.
Hey, who are you calling weirdos?
That down.
What a crazy, delightful human being.
Yeah.
And this is why, for those of you who are listening who are perhaps aspiring to this field, don't let anybody discourage you. Don't let your experiences discourage you. Every person here who's on this call has heard a lot of no, and you really only will kind of like get out in front of the bus hoping it hits you enough if you don't if you don't listen to anything that is discouraging in your life. Any voice that is telling you that, oh well, you tried out for that one thing and it didn't work out, you should probably give it up. Don't listen to that. It takes a phenomenal amount of willingness to keep at it and to just know with your own internal true north that this is what you're meant to do to get to this level. I think everybody here can attest to the fact that it's just about sticking with it and applying yourself very, very hard every day afresh. So
yeah, we all say it's this, you have to have all of this stuff, and every one of us is like, again today. More, please.
Starting over.
So we're running a little bit low on time. I just wanted to ask one more question for all of you. I don't know if all of you could actually answer this, just because it's kind of a callback, but just for those who do any of you, Copy the Kitteness, have any memorable or favorite lines? And if so, why? And then we'll wrap it up.
I think one that broke me.
For Fallout?
Sorry, I did not specify. Yes, from Fallout. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of lines you could pick from in general, but Fallout is what I was going for.
Anything with Samuel L. Jackson.
I remember, I won't forget this because it was just the cheesiest fucking pun that it broke me in the middle of the session. Doing dialogue for MacCready, and there's one point where you go by Henry David Thoreau's cabin. You can go over there for an element. As you walk by, there was one line of dialogue where he goes like, hey, make sure you check the cabin thoroughly. and I remember there was a pause, and I looked over at Cal and was like, really? Really? That is simultaneously the worst and best thing I've ever had to read in the booth. I'm so appreciative. Anyway.
I got one. So speaking of that Hunter Thompson quote, let's get this freak show on the road.
All right.
Gets me every time.
Love that. What about the rest of you? Anything comes to mind?
Kate had a ton of great lines. Rather be off murdering a pint, but this'll do.
My dialogue was pretty vanilla, so I didn't have it exciting.
Just make something up. No one's gonna know.
I went searching and I found this one that sort of I loved. You don't find the Institute finds you is the classic. But I also love this one, which is a bit long, so bear with me. The thing about happiness is that you only know you had it when it's gone. I mean, you may think to yourself that you're happy, but you don't really believe it. You focus on the petty bullshit or the next job or whatever, It's only looking back, by comparison to what comes after, that you really understand what happiness felt like.
That's a hell of a line too. That's a lot of people I've learned over the years love Kellogg, and I think that line's one of the reasons why it's one of the more heavy hitters throughout the game.
That's my 2020 quote right there.
That was a fun one to come across. It was like, oh my God, yeah, that.
John, need I ask you what your favorite line in the game is?
Do it.
Well, I mean, I really like the man, I don't know who you are, but your time is impeccable. Preston Garvey, Commonwealth Minuteman, just like that introduction.
Yeah, it's solid.
Every single time, man.
I love Preston's "I'll give you my chest full of emeralds when we find a way out of this mess." I love that line. I thought your delivery on that was so great, and it's such a like a chest full of emeralds. That's a great bit of writing, because it's so obviously flippant, and I thought your delivery was great. I really like that one.
Yeah, and I just want to jump in here and say, because I think it needs to be said before we all part ways, that part of the pleasure of working on this game and everything that I've worked on with Bethesda too has been the quality of the writing. It has just been so sharp, so specific, and often so I would just come across these lines, and as Courtney was saying earlier, we're often seeing them for the first time when we go into the booth, and I would read it for the first time and go, wow, that's a great line, and just be taken aback by something. And Keythe, what you just quoted is a perfect example of that too. It's not only a lovely sentiment, but it's beautifully phrased, just wonderfully put together, and that has been a real gift in working for this company.
Absolutely. I think that all the writers at Bethesda are wonderful, but if I were to single anybody out, being able to bring to life the words of Emil Pagliarillo over the years has been just sheer delight.
Yeah, I mean, you both have worked pretty extensively with them across many games, so I'm sure you're just, if for you both, is it just a thing where like, is there even a casting call? Is it just like, hey, you want to do this?
Oh yeah. They're going to look for the best voice, and there have been times that I've done voices and auditioned for things that I didn't get even within Bethesda, even though I've been doing it for a long time. What I'm lucky is that they still give me a call and give me a shot and let me have a try at a couple of these. Anytime I get a chance to come out and play in their sandbox, I'm a happy man.
Of course.
You're here.
That or the Washington Capitals. That caught me the hell off guard as a Rangers fan. I was like, I don't know if I want him on here now.
Well, I always have one of these. Area, so.
Matty, I was super fortunate just on lines with Deacon. I was given so many well-written and funny and sarcastic and off the cuff seeming sort of lines. I'm not sure if there was a particular writer in general that's responsible for them, but I was blown away every time I went in of something that I wouldn't have even thought that Deacon was going to come up with that he did. And there's so many lines. I was thinking about that. Is there one particular line? There's different ones that apply to different things that are fantastic. But one that seems to encapsulate sort of the whole Fallout fandom that I've been part of and our whole community here is he says, we're just one big dysfunctional family with guns.
For me, it was, I don't know if it was my favorite line because there was a lot. I mean, obviously I loved the, Seamus, it's your old pal, Molly McFuck yourself. And doing all the Silver Shroud stuff was also amazing, but.
I loved having you impression of me. That was so fun.
It was so great, and I just had to do this the whole time. I always had to have my hand up, and that was amazing. That was one of my favorite parts of doing that was actually where I was like, I don't think this is gonna work, and then it ended up once Cal was like, let yourself go, do it. I was just like, this is so much fun. But I really did love was destroyed by getting to do the ending monologue with the war never changes. Because that is such a iconic, and having gone and listened to Ron Perlman and
cheers Perlman too.
I just I actually ended up like, I was in a freaking puddle the day that we did it. Like I had to go outside and pull myself together because it was just it was just so moving, and also like getting to kind of carry this torch from another game and knowing how much it means both in the game and also just like in life. And I can't even put words to it.
Everybody in the booth was we were all crying that day, truly. And also on the day when you recorded the unfreezing and finding of the hubby's body, that you know, it's tricky because gameplay sometimes drives choices, right? So that was originally a much longer and more involved moment. I hope somewhere the recording of what Courtney did before it was implemented exists, because it was everybody in the booth, you know, hardened and recording engineers were just crying that day because it was so heart-cracking a performance. So yeah, I will say that of all the mini games I've worked on, Fallout is the one that has pulled the most. This is the franchise that has pulled the most tears out of me over the years.
Yeah, I hope that recording exists too, because I was like, when I saw the opening and I was like, I had to ice my eyes when I got home. I went through like a box of Kleenex, and it didn't end up making in the game, but I was just like, but it was. Yeah,
because ultimately they were like, you know, people have got to get into it faster.
Yeah.
And that's a gameplay concern, and it's a very real one. But
for sure,
that performance exists somewhere on tape, and man, or I guess as ones and zeros.
I want to hear it now.
Oh my goodness!
I am very curious. I wasn't aware of this.
Yeah, heart-wrenching. It was real snotty, lots of Kleenex, and that was an amazing thing. Is also that you know, just to kind of circle back, like to what we learned about doing this game was I didn't really know. I had played characters that had those kinds of moments before, but as a mom, and which I'm not, to be able to have them give you something like that and be able to really step into those shoes and have that kind of reaction. I was really afraid of it, and I'm so grateful to Bethesda for allowing me that scene and that material, and being able to go like, oh, wow. Like I walked out of that booth after that, and it made me a better actor, and it made me more confident in what I could bring to the party. So, and what games could be. So I really am grateful to them for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely one of the stronger moments of the game for sure. And you can definitely feel like there's a degree of when you're playing a moment and you can tell when someone's like very into it, and when someone's just kind of, it's another line. You could feel in that time that it was like you know, there was a lot of heart in it, and that, you know, now that makes a lot more sense when you fill in the gaps behind the scenes on what exactly was happening there.
Also, the line. Also, the
yeah. Is there any other lines, or should I sadly have to wrap this up?
There's a Brian Delaney line I want to call out because it's the most I've ever cracked up in a booth, and I want to call it out because it tells you what an actor brings to a performance that isn't on the page. Because on the page, the line was just, "What's a tato?" short for potato? Question mark, like that, right? Brian hits this line and he goes, "What's a tato?" Short for potato. And it was so different from the way it reads on the page that I cracked up. We lost like 3 minutes because I couldn't stop laughing. "What's a tato?" Short for potato. And you're so proud of it. And it's a little throwaway line in like one of the like sewage settlements, but it's one of my favorites in the whole game because it really shows you know, the kind of the magic of performance, because the writer, the director, nobody thought that it was going to be that way, right, until it was that way in the moment. So
what's up?
Piper was your companion. Do you have a favorite line of hers? Could you speak for the that are out there that you'd want to hear?
I would say for me, yeah, Piper was probably my favorite. You know, and it became like a whole I'm sorry. Look, you were the best surprise,
I'm just being
Piper?
dramatic.
I would say it wasn't really a line like, oh, what a kind of like a level of what a delivery or wow, that moved me. It was more so the personality of she's like, let's go, Blue. You know, like that kind of come on, Blue. Yeah, just calling him Blue. I thought that was such a almost stroke of brilliance in general because no one else calls him Blue. It felt more, I guess, personal.
No one else calls him Blue?
As far as I know, no. I'm pretty sure you own that. Yeah, that's all you.
Or her.
And you know what else is great about that is Blue is yes, exactly. Blue is a gender agnostic term of affection. So whether the player is playing masculine, feminine, or non-binary, it works every way, and we don't have to record two versions of the line. So
there you go.
Win-win.
Let's go, Blue.
There you go.
Oh.
I love that. And I think everyone already said their respective lines. So I guess, now's the time we wrap it up, sadly. You know, it's been about 2 hours and this has been an absolute blast. The people in the chat have been wonderful too. They've sent compliments each one of your ways. And I just want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for letting me do this. Each of you inspire me in one way or another. And I've listened to your work over the years, and to share a space with you and just get to talk with you, I can't put into words how much that actually does mean to me. It is heartwarming, but it's also just very humbling. So I want to thank each of you for allowing me to do this, because there is trust there, and I appreciate that. And I hope I represented you well and made this a fun thing for all of you.
We want to thank you and broadly the fans in general. This franchise is what it is because it has a level of engagement from the people who play it and love it that is unlike anything else I've ever been involved with. From the memes on down. And so, we get to do what we get to do because you guys, share your love of it so freely. So we really appreciate that.
If I could just add, Maddie, you in particular, right from the first day when I came on Instagram and started interacting with people within the Fallout community, and that you were so helpful to me. I reached out to you, asked you some questions, and you were really informative and supportive, and emailing with me back and forth, and then doing my interview stuff with you early on. Was one of the greatest pleasures I had in doing this and exposing me to the fans out there and stuff, so that I could then interact with them. And it's been an amazingly supportive community. Yeah, so much love from the fans and the Fallout community, just blows my mind. So thanks to that, and thanks to all of you for helping to create all this and let me be a part of it. Appreciate it.
Of course. I mean, the chat's actually popping off with thank yous to all of you for your incredible performances, for your time, for your delightful answers at that. I mean, this is awesome to see. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up unless there's any final things any of you want to throw out there.
Just a reminder, these guys are going to be on Streamily, right?
Yes.
Here shortly. Just want to call that out again. They're giving more of their time to that. So if you guys are into it, go on over there.
Yeah, there will be a link down below in the description if you want any more of these wonderful people. They'll be doing respective signings. You can join them, talk with them a little bit more, maybe ask some more questions, get some signed headshots and all that good stuff, or characters. So all of that will be linked in the description down below, along with everyone's social and websites. So they're all wonderful people. Please give them follows on Instagram, Twitter, check out their sites, all that good stuff. Anything else I'm missing here? Thank you to Ryan as well. Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan.
He has not spoken this whole time, but Ryan set up everything tech-wise. He set up the call. He did the thumbnail for me. He got the, for those of you who've been here through the start, he had the intro with the please stand by. He handled pretty much all of that. So all I had to do was focus on putting this together. So I want to thank Ryan specifically for, doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes for us. And it does not go unappreciated.
He's the best. Ryan,
thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Courtney, everybody.
All right. Once again, link down below to the Streamily. Please go support these people. They're all wonderful. And thank you once again for your time. We hope you enjoyed. This will be archived. So if you want to watch more, watch it again, re-experience it, it will be here on my channel. Feel free to share it around if you're interested. And with that, we'll see you guys
in another 5 years, maybe. Who knows?
See you in the wasteland.
We'll be there.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.